emails and training invitations from her. She's a part-time Action Corps employee with us. And Katie, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Like Safna said, I work with Action Corps. I'm originally from Idaho, currently located in Colorado. You should have been getting emails from me. If not, I'll put my email in the chat if you have any follow-up suggestions or questions or anything. But I'm happy to see you all here.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. So, our purpose tonight and over the next 6 weeks is to really help you turn your concern into effective action with Congress. So, by the end of the series, you will have done a few things: requested and prepared for a congressional meeting, practice speaking to an elected official in public, and also use local media to shape the debate. So, the great thing for you is that you will leave with skills that you can learn on this campaign we're working on and other issues and other communities that you really care about. So you do not need to be an expert in policy. You do not need to be an experienced organizer. And the way that we're going to do this is really practice based. We're going to give you short pieces of information. You'll do some writing, discussing, role playing, and take some real actions. So tonight specifically, our goal is to leave having you have requested a meeting with your congressional office. So, a few ground rules about how we will work. Use that chat, encourage each other, put questions, links, reactions, whatever you want to share. We practice out loud. So, you're not just listening, it's not just a webinar. You're going to be doing things besides just watching. Everybody belongs here. And like I said before, you don't have to be an expert in anything, just be curious. And also step up, step back. So please participate, share what you think, share your ideas, but then take a step back to leave some space for other people to participate as well. So remember, if we're all gathered here today, we're working on really building a community. So like I mentioned before, encourage each other in the chat. And also, if you have the ability, please keep your video on so you can see all your beautiful faces. So Teresa's going to be taking a screenshot. So if everybody can wave and tell Teresa, tell us when you're done taking the screenshot.
Okay. Yeah. Wait. Oh, some people are not on. There we go. Okay. Let's see. If Khadija is on camera, please do that as well. And if Isabella and Jerry can be on camera, please turn on your camera, please.
You can take it, Teresa.
There you go. Yeah, wave everyone. Good.
All right, you got it?
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thanks, everybody, for showing that you're here today. All right, so this is our agenda. It's a mix of learning and also breakouts. We get to know each other and we get to practice writing to our legislators. So we're going to start off with Isaac Evans France. He's our executive director. He's going to be talking a little bit about what Action Corps is and also about the situation in Iran. Isaac, you're muted.
All right. Are you able to add me to this? There we go. Good to see you all this evening. Um, I am so excited to connect with all of you and welcome you to this advocacy training. Action Corps is a grassroots humanitarian advocacy organization. We campaign for U.S. foreign policy change to save lives around the world. We have trained people in 30 states. We meet with members of Congress and their staff. We also do work that's focused on state legislative change. And we have been really effective by being able to bring people together across different communities, across ages, across races, across different political divides. And we are about building power to stop endless war and to build global economic justice and prosperity. So you can go to the next slide. Our mission is to champion justice and solidarity with people most affected by climate disasters and violent conflict. We grew out of a humanitarian relief and development organization 10 years ago, and ever since then have been focused exclusively on policy change because we understand that that's what's driving so much suffering and around the world. Okay, next slide. We have an approach where we meet with members of Congress and we also rally in the streets. We understand that sometimes when we can't get a commitment from a member of Congress for peace or for justice, what we need to do is show up in front of their office with signs, bring media attention. We need that accountability as well as that connection with the office. And we'll be in this training series, we'll be teaching the skills of how do you escalate with a decision maker who is not being responsive to your concerns. All right, next slide. So the war against Iran is harming people. It's been causing incredible amount of damage to hospitals, bridges, schools, all over Iran. And it's also at the same time draining resources from the United States. It's resulted in people dying from the United States. It's raised the cost of gas, as you know, but it's also meant that energy prices around the world have increased and made it a lot harder for people who have nothing to do with Iran, who are living in low-income and middle-income countries around the world, who are feeling the economic impact. So it's the poorest, the most vulnerable people on this planet who are paying the biggest price for this war. The good news is that Congress actually has the power to stop this war. Both the House and the Senate have voted to direct the president to remove the U.S. from hostilities in Iran. In other words, they've told President Trump he needs to stop the war, but he has continued it. He has restarted it, and we're in an intense period of the war. And Congress, it has the power of the purse, meaning that they can cut off funds for the war. And one of the things that we'll be advocating for this summer while members of Congress are home in their districts, we are going to be using this August recess that they're home to make appointments with them, to show up at events where they're going to be, and to communicate to them that their constituents, the people they represent in Congress, want them to use their voice and their vote for a permanent end to the war against Iran. And that means not another dollar for this endless war. So defund the war on Iran. And it also means standing up for their power over war and continuing to insist that this war come to an end. And ultimately, yeah, cutting off the funds for it. And you all are critical to that because you are constituents of members of Congress and you have that power to hold them accountable. You may know that there's an election coming up. Every single member of the House of Representatives is up for re-election or is not running again. But there are races all across the country. And about a third of the US Senate is also up for re-election. And so this is an opportunity for us to get in there and make this an issue that's going to help move the country towards peace and where there will be accountability and members of Congress feel the political pressure and the heat to work towards peace. All right, back to you, Sapna. I think your line is muted there.
Of course, because I get confused with technology. So does anybody have any questions for Isaac about what he said? Let's see. All right. So this basically talks about what Isaac just mentioned. So he mentioned the solution and what we ask Congress to do. All right, so the next thing is we're doing a breakout with the groups of 3, learning more about you and also what you think advocacy is. So in the breakout, I want you to introduce yourself, share one experience you've had speaking up for something that you cared about. So it could be something like contacting an elected official. It could be volunteering, could be speaking up in your community. Maybe you help solve a problem at work or at your school. One thing I did is I advocated at work at a previous job where I spoke up against some sexism that was happening there. So I want to go 3 people into breakouts, so groups of 3, and I want you to work together also to come up with a definition for advocacy. And once we come back from the breakout rooms, I'm going to have maybe 2 groups share what their definition of advocacy is. So Katie, you can open the breakout rooms. All right, great. I think everybody's back now. It's totally cool if you didn't quite get to all the questions, but we're going to get started again. I'd love to see if somebody can raise their hand and talk about what they think advocacy is. Let's see. Can I see people that are raising their hand? Is anybody raising their hand? I can't quite see. And if they are, could maybe Isaac call on them?
I actually can't see anybody because the screen is being shared in your spotlight.
Megan, do you want to go ahead and go? I see you're raising your hand.
Could you say the question one more time? My fault, it was going out.
Yeah, I'd love for someone to share the definition of advocacy that their group came up with.
That's what I thought. I was like, I want to make sure I got the question. It's in my face, clearly. Thank you. Advocacy is when you take ownership. Oh, well, first off, I have to say, my name is Megan. I am from Atlanta, Georgia. I am wanting to get involved. Okay. When have you spoken up for an issue you care about? And so to answer that question, I raised my hand because I think it's really important to stay true to your values, knowing that people in the same room are fighting for issues that correspond and relate, and also really fall one on top of the other. And so I think when we all stand together and unite, we can move forward in bounds and leaps than we can ever imagine. I would say that my definition of advocacy is understanding that if there is a specific concern that you have on your heart that you're being affected by, or you have other friends and family outside of your community that are being affected by, and you want to speak up and you want to take action and not just on the sidelines. I think it takes a lot for us to know that we can identify the problem, but it's so hard for sometimes folks to see that there is a resolution or how you can resolve the problem. And then it's another thing to take that information, knowing the plan ahead, and then putting real action behind it and moving forward. Advocacy is when you learn that there's folks in the room that you haven't even met before that are doing the work, and then also respect the work that they've done and build on that and move forward together as a team.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hearing a lot about knowing the problems that exist and speaking up and working together with people that have been affected by the problems as well. Cool. I see other hands are up. Anjum, is that how you say your name?
Yes, you got that right. I totally agree with what Megan was saying. I think she's gone into a lot more detail than I would have said. Mine was much more simplistic in my own perspective. It's like you believe in something, you see something that's not going right or doesn't make sense, and it really, really does impact you through the heart in particular, then you want to do something. You want to speak up or act on this, or so if anybody else is doing something about it, you want to support them, and you want to, make sure that you're heard, your feelings are heard, and some action can be taken. And you're just concerned that you can't do it on your own, for even if it's for any people or for a cause, anything. And you think I'm feeling like here being a part of a team, maybe my message can get across to our representatives more readily as a team.
Yeah, that's great. I hear a lot about things that affect you in the heart and joining people together so that your voices will be heard together. That's great. And Derek?
Yeah, I agree with what's been said so far. I would just really drill in on the aspect where it's a conversation with our government at the point where it has a chance to become policy by bringing issues that are in the community that they might not be aware of, or they might not be working on in ways that are beneficial to the community, and bringing it to their attention in force with clarity, and in ways that ask them to do their jobs as our representatives and to take it forward to the process of becoming policy.
That's great. So it's like systemic change, bringing issues that affect the community to our elected officials and having them kind of make them into policy. I love that. All right, cool. I'm hearing a lot of similar things, and my definition that I use is very similar to what a lot of you are saying. And one thing to keep in mind really is VOC, use your voice and be vocal. And I know some of you talked about in your groups about ways that you've spoken up. So just keep in mind, you may have more advocacy experience than you actually realize. So Katie's going to open up a poll about how much experience you have contacting elected officials. Hope I see a hand raise, Andy. Andy, you're muted.
Oh, okay. I just want to say that I have contacted officials.
Great. That's awesome. Thanks for letting us know. Do you see the poll? You can actually vote if you'd like.
Oh, I hadn't noticed. Okay. I did.
All right. Katie, I think you can close the poll now. Oh, wow. It looks like so many of you have been active. This is great. I love seeing people that have some experience, and I'm sure there's things you can share with us too. One thing I want you all to keep in mind is, yes, we're giving you some information, some skills you can use, but we're also looking to you to share your experience with us and with the other people in this room. So it's great. We have a lot of experience in this room. Awesome. All right. Now we're going to keep moving on. So I'd love for people to talk about communities they've been a part of, because advocacy is rarely about one person speaking alone, like some people have mentioned. We're connected to places. We have other people that we work with. We have neighborhoods, we have faith communities, schools, other groups. So elected officials pay attention to organized constituents, which some of you were saying as well. So saying that you care matters, saying that you're part of the community with hundreds of people in your district, that matters. Those issues can carry even more weight. So I'd love to hear about one community you all are a part of. You can put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and say it out loud. Anybody wants to participate in the chat or raise your hand, tell me one community that you're a part of that you can identify. Right, the Riders Alliance in New York City. Arthi, what is that? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, we're a public transit organization, so we advocate for just like transit equity, I guess. That could mean lowering the fare. It could mean improving service. It could mean just like making the bus stops a nicer place and safer place for people to wait. But making sure that people have freedom of movement around New York City because people can't get around without public transit.
That's true. That is so needed. In Boston, too, where I live. So that's great that this is the work you do. I'm seeing other ones. Christians for a Free Palestine, Nuclear Disarmament Community, Riverside Church, Brooklyn Society for Ethical Culture, Common Cause, Represent Women, a number of communities you're all part of. That's great. Thank you all for sharing. I appreciate it. I personally am a member of my congregation called Unitarian Universalists. So why is this important? Because you're not only speaking for yourself, you carry a constituency, which I think a lot of you know, and some of you mentioned before in your definitions of advocacy. All right, who can actually advocate effectively? I think this is a pretty obvious answer. It would be anybody, including yourself. So this is really important to keep in mind when we talk about this. So one thing is important is, well, actually, what do you think some skills are that people need to advocate effectively? You can unmute yourself, raise your hand, put in the chat. What skills do you need to advocate effectively? Do you have to be an expert in the policy? Do you have to be persistent? Do you have to speak loudly and be a great public speaker? What kind of skills do you think you need to be an effective advocate? I personally am not an expert in issues with Iran, but I'm learning to some of the high-level issues I need to talk about when I advocate.
I think one would be able to tell a story, specifically your story, and in order to just kind of communicate the importance of the issue that you're bringing forward.
Yes, I love that. I think storytelling is so important. Once I did some work, I had a meeting about food aid. I talked to my senator's office, Senator Markey in Massachusetts, and I had a young woman from Nepal who talked about how people were affected by the Nepal earthquake that just happened. And you could tell that the legislative aide that we talked to was very moved by her storytelling. I think that's great. Yep, Margaret says coming with facts, statistics, definitely great. Being knowledgeable in the subject matter, you don't have to be an expert. Inclusive and communicate. Yep, allow people to learn how to advocate for themselves. Yeah, these are great answers. I totally can understand where you're coming from, and I agree. So expertise can help, but really it's that clarity, preparation, authenticity, storytelling, and very persistent. You don't need to know all the answers for what you need to do and how to be an effective advocate. So Katie's going to open up another poll about how confident you are about contacting your elected officials. All right, Katie, I think you can close the poll. All right, so we have a good range. We have a number of people who are very confident, some people who are not quite confident. But the good thing is that at the end of this session, hopefully you will have learned how to do this and be confident when you go ahead and do it in the future. All right. So by the end of this session, you will have to been able to done, well, actually at the end of this whole series, you will have done all these 4 things. So I'd love to hear either raise your hand or answer in the chat, which one of these things feel exciting and which things feel intimidating. So for me personally, I'm really intimidated by speaking up in public, but I'm the most excited about meeting my representatives. So yeah, you can put in the chat or you can raise your hands. Okay, for some reason, I can't see the hands that are being raised. Would somebody else be able to see the hands if there are any?
I can see and I don't see any hands.
Okay, awesome. Great. So public speaking, Elizabeth, is that intimidating or is that exciting for you?
It's both. I get nervous at first, but then when I start going, I do okay and I become comfortable. And
Yeah, that's
I
great. I
like it a
totally
lot
can feel
because I
that.
get to convey my message. Yeah.
Yeah, really important things that you might want to tell people about. It's an invigorating experience. So I totally hear that. Oops. All right, we're going to keep going. All right, so this is our roadmap for how everything is going to work for the 6 weeks. So we know that 6 weeks is a pretty big time commitment. The good thing is that recordings will be available if you can't make it. We really, though, strongly encourage you to join whenever you can live. The good thing about joining live is you get to practice the skills and not just hear about them. You get feedback and support. You build relationships with other advocates, like people in this room now, people you meet in the breakout rooms. We get to take the action together, and you're really going to become part of the Action Corps ongoing community. And where this can lead, if you attend 4 out of the 6 sessions, you're eligible to become an Action Corps organizer. And if you're an organizer, you get to join monthly organizer meetings and receive some ongoing campaign support about the war against Iran. And if you attend 4 out of 6, you also will be considered for a stipend and fall fellowship, which is going to be focused on campaign support and communications. And we give priority for the participants who secure meetings with their legislators and also get to publish opinion pieces in the media. Also, if you go to 4 out of 6 sessions, you get a pretty snazzy certificate. So any questions so far? All right, cool. Let's keep trucking. So this is tonight. Just take a few seconds, look at where tonight's session is going to take you. And what matters really most is that each session will lead towards a real action. Like tonight, we're going to be contacting our offices to ask for an advocacy meeting. You're not just learning, you're practicing. Hopefully, you'll build the confidence that you can use outside of these sessions. All right, we're going to talk about understanding congressional offices and why advocacy works. So I'd love for people to put one word in the chat about how you feel about Congress. So how do you feel about Congress? Let us see some words in the chat. Skeptical, bitter. Yep. I can't say I don't agree. I feel the similar way too. Frustrated. Yep. I'm not surprised we're seeing these answers at all. Disgusted. Yeah, AOC is doing a great job. I really respect what she's doing. Complicated. I hear that. Okay, good. Optimistic about opportunities. I feel like that when I do work with Action Corps, that's for sure. All right, thanks for letting me know how you feel about Congress. No surprises there. So some of you might think that a congressional office feels kind of like a black box, right? You've got a member who sets positions, they cast votes, but the members are rarely the people that handle every conversation or researching every issue. So the legislative staff is what's going to be your real audience and your real friends. They meet with constituents, they track the concerns. They're the ones that research the policy the most and they brief the members. So the offices really pay attention to who's contacting them. They pay attention to the stories they hear, whether the message comes from people in the district, and a really clear request that's tied to their local community carries a lot of weight. So I'll give you an example. Once I was watching C-SPAN and I saw a member of the House on the floor, stand there on the floor with a stack of papers. And he said, "These are letters I've received from my constituents who are frustrated with the state of healthcare." So keep in mind that your goal in these meetings, you're not winning the argument in one meeting. You're really trying to make sure that the member understands your position, the legislative aide understands your position, they record their ask, and the most important piece is they see your ask as really important and important enough to bring it back to their member. All right, so face-to-face meetings. I will admit that 12 years ago, when I was first being in an advocacy meeting on the Hill with other volunteers, I was absolutely terrified. My hands were shaking. I was lightheaded. I thought about faking an illness so I could get out of it. But by the time I had my third meeting on the Hill, I got a little bit more comfortable. So it sounds like some of you all are experienced with doing these advocacy meetings, which are great. I wonder if some of you are nervous too. They're a lot more human and conversational than people expect. And Teresa's going to talk now about some firsthand experience meeting with the congressional office and walk us through one example. So Teresa, you can take it away.
Hi, everyone. I initially had an online meeting with Representative Dalbane's office. And then when I met with them in person in Washington, D.C., they felt that, wow, I'm really serious about what I'm advocating for, that I'm attending an in-person meeting after attending an online meeting. And in this in-person meeting, I started building rapport with the congressional office, and that rapport has led to a relationship, and it has led to an ongoing relationship as well. That representative felt like we want to build up that rapport, and I continue with follow-up emails to continue building that relationship so that I can advocate to achieve what I want to see happen.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Teresa. And what you really highlighted is the fact that it builds a relationship over time. So if some of you have had the experience with being an advocate, talking to the same offices, you'll see that you're really building a relationship. And one example is Senator Murphy in Connecticut. I'm from Connecticut originally, and I was on a virtual meeting with him and some other organizers, even with my dad, who's in Connecticut too. And the office said to us, thanks for keeping this issue top of mind, because we've had other meetings and discussions with this office before. All right. So next up, we're going to talk about how to request an advocacy visit and research your legislators. Now, some of you probably have examples of this, so it'd be great if you can chime in and give your expertise as well. So take a look at these 6 categories. Keep in mind, you don't have to be an expert on every one of them. You're just going to learn enough about your representative to understand what may influence them, how you're going to frame your message, and really where your issue connects with the priorities that they already have. So Teresa, do you want to take it away?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm going to show you how to request a meeting with your senator or House representative. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, I'm going to start off by sharing this templates with you. Can everyone see my screen? Give me a thumbs up if you can see it.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to scroll down. And how do you find your senator or House representative? You click on this link by ballotpedia.org here. We're going to enter your address here, click continue. And if you see here, my senators are Senators Patty Murray and Mary Canswell, and my House representative is Rick Lawson. Now, I want to see the bills that Senator Patty Murray has co-sponsored. I do that by going to congress.gov. And then I'm going to the Senate section. Here, I'm going to go to section M because the senator's last name is Murray. And then I'm going to click on her page. Here. I'm going to scroll down and click on her co-sponsored legislation. And I want to see whether she has co-sponsored foreign policy legislation. So I'm going to click the section titled Subject Policy Area. She has sponsored many bills on international affairs. Now I'm going to check to see. She has indeed co-sponsored a bill that is against the use of US armed forces in Iran without Congress's permission. Now, I'm going
Jason, can
to,
you go back to Ballotopedia and show how you can see the committees that somebody is in?
yes. So, now, on Senator's Murray page in Ballotopedia here are the list of subcommittees she's on. And you see, she's on a subcommittee on states, foreign operations, and related programs as well. So now I'm going to Google her position on Iran. So I'm going to write Patty Murray, Iran. And you'll see that she has indeed actively voted against the war on Iran. She has even heavily criticized President Trump for continuing the war on Iran. So even though she is highly supportive of ending the war on Iran, we should still schedule a meeting with her to thank her and to tell her to get other senators to vote against the war of Iran as well. So I'll show you how to schedule a meeting with her. And yeah, first I want to start off by indicating that there are some senators' websites where at the friends page of the website, the meeting request form is not evidenced at the friends. So sometimes you need to hover over a contacts me section and click request a meeting. So let's see how it goes for Senator Murray's website. Now here's her official websites. We know that this is her official website because this link ends with .gov. And if we scroll down, we see a section titled Meet with Patty. We're going to click that, and we're going to click meeting in Washington State because we want to request a face-to-face meeting as early as possible, and the earliest would be to have her meet in your states. So you're going to fill out your contact information here, and in this section titled description of this request, we're going to provide a template for you to personalize your message. Okay, now you're going to fill out this form and don't submit it until you get back into the main room. Now, what do you do if you can't find a meeting request form on your senator's website? You need to email them. So I'll show you how to email them.
And we're going to be giving you all a link to this document here, so you'll be able to use it when we do our breakout rooms, when you actually request advocacy meetings.
Okay, so to send an email to your senator, you have to email both their foreign policy advisor or legislative aide and CC their scheduler. So how do we find out their email address? The email address of the staffers of a Senate office are their first name underscore their last name at senator's name dot senate dot gov. So, okay, I'm going to first of all find out the staff members of Senator Murray's office. And on this website, I look for Senator Murray first, and then I see that her scheduler is Caroline Avery. And let's see if she has a foreign policy advisor. She does. It's Sarah Sahir. So how do I write out their email addresses? Okay, I would write out Sarah Sahir's email address like this: Sarah underscore Sahir at murray.senate.gov. And I also need to CC Senator Mary's scheduler, which is Caroline Avery. So her email address will be Caroline underscore Avery at murray.senate.gov. And I want to point out that the email address format for your House representative is different from that of your Senate staffer. To email your House representative, the email format is their first name dot their last name at mail.house.gov. So if I want to email my representative, Rick Larson, I would write rick.larson at mail.house.gov. Thank you. And I'll pass it back to you, Sapna.
Great, awesome. Thank you very much. I'll share my screen again. All right, let's go back into this view. Great, so does anybody have any questions about what we just talked about? All right, seems pretty straightforward. Awesome.
It looks like there's one question in the chat from Seema.
Oh.
Who asked, if you request a meeting, do they have to agree to schedule one with you? And is it much more effective to meet in person versus virtual?
Yeah, that's great. So usually they will accept the request. Sometimes they don't respond. So what you have to do is follow up after you sent the request. So keep following up. And I'd say that if it's inconvenient to meet in person, you can always, when you use the template and personalize it to make the request, you can always say, be willing to do a Zoom meeting, or you'll offer to do an in-person meeting. Teresa mentioned before that once you did a Zoom meeting and then followed up with an in-person meeting, which is even more impactful. But yeah, I've done a Zoom meeting before with Senator Murphy's office, and it does make an impact because you're still showing that you have the passion and the interest in the issue to meet with the elected official or their legislative aides. I see a question from Elizabeth.
All right, so I'm from Texas, and I've got Ted Cruz and John Cornyn to talk to. I was wondering, is it okay if I reach out actually to my House district member or congressional district member?
Yeah, Isaac, do you want to take that question?
Absolutely. That would be great to reach out to your House member. And in fact, they're a key swing vote on some of these votes having to do with ending war against Iran is a congressman who represents part of Austin, Texas. So it's really, that makes a lot of sense. But I also would say, don't give up on the ones that are difficult as well. It may be about finding the people who can, it may be about building the coalition, finding the people who can influence those senators. And one other thing is when you are emailing those House reps, just like you can see on Sapna's screen that she's sharing, it's with this joseph.newman@mail.house.gov in that dark blue box. Teresa gave the example of actually emailing the member of Congress directly, but I would usually email that person's staff, their foreign affairs staff member, or if they have potentially their like someone like their deputy chief of staff. The benefit of doing an in-person visit is that you can do that I mean, if you can meet with someone in district, it's great to have that in person, be in person, and you make that human connection with someone who works for the member of Congress. But if you, a benefit of doing the Zoom calls is that you can actually meet with the foreign policy person in DC without having to go to Washington. So there are options there.
Great. Any other questions? All right. So this is an example of what you might write to your elected official's office. So this is the template. We're going to give you that link so you can really personalize it. Certain things you need to include in that meeting to schedule it. You need your constituent status. So say that you're a constituent, say where you're located, what organization you're associated with, the topic, make it really clear that you're asking for a meeting. Also, when your availability is. So I think you all realize that the purpose of the email isn't to really win an argument or say what your argument is. It's simply just to secure the meeting. All right, great. So it is now your turn to draft the email. Katie, do you mind posting in the chat the link to the template and the instructions? All right, so you're basically going to break into your state groups right now. So Katie's identified who is in a same state as somebody else. Unless you're here in this meeting and no one else from your state is, you will be joining a group with people from your state in a breakout room. Everybody else who doesn't have somebody from their state here will be staying in the main room where Isaac can help walk you through what you need to do. Katie, I see.
Well, I'm taking a quick scan of who listed what states, and I've broken them into, we've got a lot of people from New York State. You'll all be in a room together, and then you can actually choose which room you want to be in. So there's going to be a New York State one for the southern states, the eastern states, and then the west. So you can choose which group you want to be in, and if none of those are identifying to you in your states, you can stay in the main room with us.
Yeah, so you can talk to each other as you go about this, ask each other questions, and we'll have some people moving from room to room to see how y'all are doing. All right, you have 30 minutes to do this. If you're done early, you can always research. Actually, Isaac, did you put the talking points about Iran in the chat earlier?
No, I did not.
Yeah, if you can do that. So if you're done emailing or submitting, well, we're going to ask you not to hit the submit button or not to hit the send button until we get back to the main room so we can do it all together. So if you get done early, feel free to research more about your legislator, things that you need to know for the actual meeting, or we can review the points about Iran that Isaac's going to be putting in the chat to make sure you're well equipped for next week's meeting, which is all about how to actually handle an advocacy meeting. All right, great. Thank you, Isaac, and thank you, Katie, for putting those two documents in there. All right, Katie. Oh, Arthur, you have a question?
Yeah, just to clarify, do we want to email our representatives or our senators or all of the above?
Sorry, it wasn't clear. Great question. You're going to be emailing both your senators' offices and also your representative.
So you'd be
Awesome,
requesting three meetings, right?
Yeah, you're requesting 3 meetings,
And if
one
you're in
with
the
each
same
senator.
And if you're in the same state, you'll decide who will request the meeting of each of the senators, right? So that you're not the senators from New
Duplicating.
York, so that you all can be together and you can figure out what are dates that would work for you. I wanted to also just point out that in the meeting request template, there's a bunch of things that need to be changed. So there are things in brackets like, there are things that are in brackets like for if you're writing to a Democratic senator, you could talk about the war against Iran. If you're writing to Republican senators, a lot of them are going to be talking about the conflict with Iran or using a different language. You can choose if you want to, use that kind of language to make them more likely to meet with you. The other thing is, yeah, just write the times that actually work for you. I would suggest proposing times that are after next Wednesday, so that because next Wednesday we'll be getting more practice with the content that we'll be advocating for around stopping the war in Iran, and also, we'll be going over the format and doing some role plays. So I would just encourage you to suggest dates that are after next Wednesday, but that work for you. And then also in the line where you put your name and you can write your own organization if you belong to a different organization. You're welcome to use Action Corps' name, but that's not required. And you can also leave it blank if you just prefer to put your address.
Awesome. Thank you, Isaac, for clarifying. That's great. All right, everybody, feel free to join your breakout rooms. You'll have about 30 minutes.
And come back if you finish and you want to join us in the main room. We'll be here and glad to chat.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, come back to the main room. We can help you out. All right, good luck, everybody. On your way.
I was just wondering because I'm in NJ5 and I have my rep is, a supporter of the war, unfortunately. And so is it still worthwhile to try to meet, or is it worthwhile to try to meet with he's a Democrat, but I don't think there's any way of having a good conversation, I guess. Do you try to meet with?
I think that meeting with Democrats who are in favor of the war are actually an incredibly important group to be meeting with. I mean, the margins on these votes are razor thin. I mean, there was a vote today that was like, one thing I saw was 214 against 214 around continued funding of the war. I mean, so and there are very few, there were like 7 Democrats that voted the wrong way on this of all 200 and however many there are in the House. So I would say that that's a really critical person to be talking to. And I think the key thing is to be able to bring together other people who can go with you, who may be able to be influential, to show the strength in numbers, to show different perspectives. If there are different constituencies in that district that would be meaningful, like if to that representative, like there's someone from labor, or someone from a religious organization or a church, there's someone who's just a member of a church, someone if it's maybe a member of a synagogue, like having a a handful of people from different groups that could be really impactful, and just reminding that representative that they all are voters and that there's you're looking for that representatives to stand with a majority of Americans who want the war to end in as lead up to the election. I definitely think it's worth it.
Okay, thank you. Thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Awesome. And Sima, there's only one in the eastern states. If you want, you can join the southern states.
Sure.
Yeah, that's great. Awesome. So everybody, before session 2, Katie, did you put the tracker in the chat?
Yeah.
So we'd love for you, after you all send your messages out, to log who you messaged in the tracker that Katie's going to put in. Also, we're going to send out some Iran talking points to review those. Finish researching your legislator, and find others who can join you on your visit. So if you're in a singleton today, try to think about your communities that you're in and find people to join you. So come with some ideas the next session. All right. So another quick thing, Katie, can you put in the chat the link to sign up for the registration link and also the link to the Google form? So Katie's putting in the chat a link to the registration page for this summer series training. If you had a good time and see it as really useful, we'd love for you to invite your friends or members of your community. So just share with them that link to the registration page. Also, there's a Google form link that Katie's posting. We'd love to hear more feedback about what you found useful, what didn't go so well, what you'd like more of, like longer breakout sessions, just more feedback we can use to make all these better for next week and for future people that are doing the trainings. All right, any last questions before we wrap up?
Just thanks. Congratulations on the first session.
Awesome, we did it. All right, it was really great to meet all of you.
Do we actually have a contact list to get in touch with people?
Yeah, we can
Do we
consider
have a
sending
group?
that.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
if there is a
yeah.
group.
We'll try to consider how we can keep people in touch outside of the session. So we'll give that some consideration. Thanks for the idea. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Actually, it's because I'm stuck.
Are you sorry? Say that one more
I'm
time.
stuck and I can't remember from Queens. What's her name?
Is someone here from
Opposite,
Queens?
who offered some advice. So I'm trying.
Khadijah, perhaps?
No. I can help you. I'm gonna send you my email on the chat, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks, Derek. I love the teamwork. We saw a lot of teamwork in the southern states too. So this is great. We're building community, and that's what advocating is all about, working together.
Very good. Very good. Thanks.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. And we really hope to see you next week, where we're going to learn about how to actually have a great advocacy meeting with your representatives and your senators. All right, everybody, have a good night. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night,
Hang in there,
everybody.
Vandra. All right. I'm just gonna send you my thing real quick. Vandra.